Keith Smith, Real GM, Celtics blog, covering that series. They're up 2-0 over the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he joins us now with a closer look at that particular series here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Keith, welcome back, pal.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I like to get you're around this Boston team a lot. Are they playing over the level that they've played over the for most of the season, and including in that first round of the playoffs? I mean, they've been on a run here that I think has everybody saying maybe we underestimated this team, but did they, or are they just playing better than they had, that any stretch that you've seen all year?
It's a little bit of both. I think the big thing they're doing is they are so locked in on both ends that they're not beating themselves at all. You're going to have to beat this team. You're going to have to work for whatever you get on offense and make it happen. And then on the other end of the floor, if you aren't locked in on defense, they're just going to take advantage. We saw it against Philly. We're seeing it against Cleveland. Brad Stevens is going to have his guys relentlessly hunt the mismatches and then bleed them dry until the other team makes changes. Problem for the Cavs is there's no clear change for them to make.
The Boston Celtics, at this point right now, I mean, playing with a ton of confidence. It seems that they love playing with one another, but it seems that you look at Al Horford as the catalyst of that team, and so many times, Keith, we would say, well, a team with Horford as the best player, they're just not good enough. What has changed about that thinking maybe with this group of guys that Horford, I mean, I don't know if he's the best player, but he's certainly the very important piece on that team, if not the most important piece?
I think what's changed most is the talent around him. Those things were said when he didn't have much around him. And that's not to, insult the guys the Hawks had for all those years, because they were good players, but they weren't this level of good. And these guys might be young, but they've proven that they can do this and that they can play. And the great thing about Al Horford is you see it every single game that you watch this team. When things start getting a little off balance or they start pushing a little too hard and getting a little out of control, Brad Stevens makes sure, let's settle down, let's get Al a touch, generally in the post, and let's play through him for a few possessions and get everything back to where we need it to be. That's probably one of the biggest things he brings, is just that steadying influence to a young team that can still at times get completely out of control.
Yeah, it seems that they could change which guy they want to run through almost by the possession or quarter. I mean, they can change it up throughout the game, which makes it very difficult to coach against them.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw this last night. Jason Tatum took over in the second quarter, scored 9 consecutive points. There were 9 of his only 11 for the game, and really kind of kept them afloat when they needed that in the first half. And then in the third quarter, Terry Rozier went crazy and scored 14 of his 18 points in that quarter. So the Celtics are, they're going to work through whoever is the hot hand and whoever is the mismatch. It sounds weird to say this for a team that's playing well offensively, but they don't have a lot of guys who are super creative right now. That's what they miss with Kyrie Irving. They don't have a guy they can throw the ball to with 8 seconds left on the shot clock and say, go get us a good one at the rim. And that's what Kyrie can do. So what they are is they're creative as a team. And then again, they find those mismatches and they make them work. And that's what they're going to continue to do for however long this playoff run goes.
Keith, you get the sense that the Cavaliers have a defeated feeling. I mean, I know they have LeBron, but they look like a team that the secondary and third guys on those teams on that team now are almost questioning themselves.
Yeah, I think Game 3 will be big because that's a game that they should win. If they can't figure that one out, obviously this series is probably done unless they pull off something historic, which it's LeBron James, so never count him out. But the thing that would leave me feeling very uneasy if I was a Cavaliers fan or, a member of the Cavaliers was all throughout the second half, as things really fell apart, they were outscored by 20 points in the second half. The amount of times guys were just looking at each other with palms raised, daggers being shot at players on both ends of the floor, really. It was just missed assignments, missed screens being set, and guys were just really, they weren't connected at all. They didn't look like they were a team. And in that point, it's too much to ask LeBron to pull them all back from how far down they had gotten.
You got LeBron had a big game last night. Love played well and simply not good enough. I mean, it's clear that Boston is a better team here, but how can Cleveland, I saw a stat, LeBron, after losing the first 2 games in game 3s and 4s is 6-0. So how could the Cleveland team win these 2 games in Cleveland? What would worry you going back to Cleveland right now? Because I think if you're starting to watch this, you're saying, look, Cleveland's just simply not better than Boston.
Yeah, I think they got the big LeBron game in game 2. He was, terrific, obviously, especially in the first quarter. And then he had that, run-in collision with Jason Tatum and didn't really seem right after that. But also, I think that was a lot of he was making shots that just weren't really sustainable. But you could probably expect another big game like that from him in game 3 or game 4. And then it becomes all about the other guys. Those guys need to step up and they need to do things to help LeBron James. If it's all him, they're going to struggle and they're not going to be able to win, these games. But if a couple other guys can step up and deliver, especially they need someone to step forward on the defensive end and say, enough of this, I'm going to make some plays. If somebody can do that, all of a sudden then it's 2-1 and then maybe 2-2, and now we've got a series again.
Keith Smith, CelticsBlog.com, real GM, covering this series and covers the NBA. And you look at, Boston, where they're going. I'd like to get your opinion on the 2 guys who are out and how they fit in, because a lot of people are saying, man, look what they're doing without these 2 guys. I'm not saying that you don't take those 2 guys back and that they don't fit in, but what does it mean for the current guys who are getting to this point? What happens to their roles moving forward?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. The thing with this team right now is any conversation I have about the Celtics is I can't believe what's going on, and every single one ends with, and how good are they going to be next year? That's where the conversation turns to. Now, I think Gordon Hayward is a very easy guy to fit into this group. He's very selfless. He's just going to make plays. He's going to do his thing. And then I think Kyrie Irving is also going to come back. You can tell, even though he can't play, he loves his teammates. He's the first guy up, bouncing around on the bench, which is starting to look like, hey, if he can be jumping up and down like that, why can't he be out there? Because he's just so excited for his teammates making plays. But I think you're going to see this team come back. And what I think Brad Stevens will do is you're going to still have, especially early in the year, some injury management for Hayward and Irving. And then Horford's getting a little older. You're all of a sudden going to see a team. I would be a little surprised if anybody on this roster plays much more than 30 minutes per game next season. And I would also be surprised if any of the veterans play much more than 70 or so games. And I think because he'll manage the minutes and then manage the games played, guys aren't going to get in a spot where it is, I want to play more, I need to do this. Now, that might only last for a year or two,
right,
but Boston will take it for as long as they can.
Yeah, because I was going to say, if Hayward returns, when he returns, whose minutes does he cut into?
Honestly, I think the guy he cuts into is probably someone like a Marcus Morris or even an Aaron Baines, because the Celtics started the season in that very first game with Horford, Tatum, Brown, Hayward, and Irving. It only lasted 5 minutes, as we all know, but that was their starting 5. I think that's what they'll go back to as their majority starting 5. That's the guys that they'll have on the floor. And then it's going to be those reserve-level guys, Marcus Morris, Aaron Baines, and Terry Rozier, who they're going to see their roles reduced probably back to what the original plan was, which was 20 to 24 minutes a night.
Kyrie, obviously, when he comes back, ball-dominant guy. Rozier's been unbelievable. Does he go back to being a 22, 24-minute player? How do they handle that?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. And, we'll see, too, there's a lot of talk out there that, do they have to choose between Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier? Smart's a restricted free agent this summer, but I think we all see the value he brings to the team. It goes far beyond the box score, any stats. You just have to watch the games to see that. And Terry Rozier, a lot of people are looking at it as, hey, this guy's now a super valuable trade chip. I tend to believe Danny Ainge isn't going to make a move until he has to. He's going to wait and be patient and see where it all kind of plays out. If that means he goes back to, hey, these guys are going to come off the bench predominantly and they're going to play 20 to 25 minutes a night, then that's what he's going to do. And he's not going to worry about that because I think he trusts Brad Stevens can manage it and keep that locker room together.
It's been a unbelievable ride for this Boston team. They lead 2-0 over the Cavaliers. You can hear Game 3 right here on 97.3 ESPN. Keith Smith, Celtics blog, Real GM. Check him out. And, of course, you can follow Keith on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. And, of course, Boston right now, they might be I'll tell you right now, they might have a better shot at beating Golden State. Not that they would, but a more entertaining series than what Houston's bringing to the table.
Yeah, I think you might be right with that. They're at least going to make them work a lot harder to get what they want, because the Warriors did not have to work very hard to get offense in Game 1, and that's another one where it's tough to see. You know, I believed Houston could challenge them, but the way the Warriors came out, I think every once in a while the Warriors like to remind us, hey, don't forget about us. This is who we are. And I think that's what they did in Game 1.
Keith Smith on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thanks, pal.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.